Okay, now let's look at some of the ways in which you can make marks with different kinds of tools using ink and building form in a mark making technique. I just have ink poured onto a plate. You can use a jar. If it's on a plate like this, you can kind of control how much ink you're going to get on your tool. So that's a good way to do it. I believe that the ink I'm using has been watered down at some point, so the ink marks are not going to be as dark as it would be if you had a straight bottle of ink. So experiment. You might like it to be sometimes a lighter value and sometimes a darker value, but we'll see how that goes. First I'm going to use a pencil, just a regular pencil eraser. That's how I made the drawing that you just saw. If you dip and mark, you'll see that the marks get less and less and smaller as the ink dissipates off the end of the tool. If you build the marks close together, you start to build mass. If you work fast, you can get a tone built pretty quickly. And again, if you work up to an edge, you can define a form before too long. By adding more marks at the edge that you're trying to create and a few to the side, you can start to build a tonal gradation. If you want to add value faster, dip once, mark once, dip once, mark once, dip once, mark once. Then the ink is full strength and it doesn't dissipate. Mark, dip, mark, dip, mark, dip, mark, dip, mark, like that. Another way you can do it is to use a different kind of tool. I'm going to use just the tip of a paper towel. I'm sure you've seen the kind of mark making that you use when you do sponge painting, like when you paint a wall. Well, this is similar to that. If you use the same tool over and over again, you might get familiar with some of these marks. They might look like chicken feet or arrows. If you keep twisting and make different tools with the tip of the paper towel, you can get your own little favorite mark. Now, I tried to make marks with something unusual, like say like the end of this tube of paint. It doesn't work as well. You know why? Because it's plastic. It doesn't absorb any ink. You can still make interesting marks. Maybe they look like eyeballs over and over again. If you tip it one way, you get one kind of mark. Put it full on. That's kind of interesting. Watch what happens when I wrap it in a paper towel. Now it really gets interesting. When it's not fully saturated, it makes like a little print, almost like it's got text in it. And again, you can build form by repeating over and over in an area until it coagulates and forms a darker area. Now, I wouldn't advise it, except that it's kind of a last resort, but you can also drag your marks with an image making tool like this. You can use it almost like a stylus. But try to keep your marks regular and repeatable. That way, you don't really have to think about what kind of mark you're making. You can just look at the forms you're trying to create, what you're looking at and observing, and just respond to them naturally. So good luck with your mark making.